Well, here we are again. Trade deadline has passed. The Warriors made their move here on Wednesday night, well ahead of the noon Thursday deadline. And so here we are, Dubs Talk, to kind of go over what has happened the past couple days here. I'm Monte Poole. I'm here with my good buddy Dalton Johnson, or as we call him in the office, the pride of Petaluma, Petaluma's finest, or just DJ.
Yeah.
He's on the road with the Warriors in Phoenix, Arizona today, and we'll be with him in LA on Saturday, just to get a sense of where the team is. I want to start here, Dalton, with you were being with the team on shoot around here on Thursday morning in Phoenix. What was that like?
It was good. It was lighthearted. It's obviously an interesting situation. Obviously, when you lose a couple players, they lost Jonathan Kuminga, they lost Buddy Hield, they lost Trayce Jackson-Davis. They bring in Kristaps Porzingis, who is not with the team yet, not with them right now. The hope is that he could be introduced in LA, just like Jimmy Butler was last year, and could possibly even play as early as Saturday in LA. But we talk with Gary Payton II, who's one of the best characters on the team, as you know, Monty, and he keeps things lighthearted. Yeah, he said that he's going to miss those guys as far as JK, Buddy, and Trayce. The locker room's not going to be the same. I think Trayce was like his cards partner on the road in the plane. We know who Buddy is and was in that locker room. His lightheartedness, his laughter really was welcome in that locker room. And yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Jonathan Kuminga for a long time now, and the drama with it and his fit and this and that. But a lot of people really liked him in that locker room as well too. So I think that these guys are genuinely going to be missed. You had a couple I'm going to do unnamed coaches kind of joking around too, though, and being like, no more Kumingas here. What are you guys going to talk about? Kind of joking with us, laughing about it to us too. And we're, I don't know. What are we going to find now? Yeah. So I think that there's almost like a relief in the fact that part of this is done and that we can move on and kind of be done talking about it. I know we need to talk about it here, but after that, I hope, Monty, that we can put a period on it, because I think that this team is just, all right, the trade deadline's done. This is who we have. We know a certain player that was talked about so much is not here anymore. Let's move on and figure out what the rest of the season is actually going to be and what the goal of this rest of the season is now.
Yeah, before I offer my take on the Kuminga Chronicles, gotta make some money here, and that is that you want to save up to $1,200 on select mattresses during Mancini Sleep World's President's Day sale. Mancini Sleep World is kicking off the year with their President's Day sale, where you can save up to $1,200. Mattresses start at incredible prices, like the Beauty Rest Queen mattress, starting at as low as $299. Get a good night's sleep. Talk to the folks at Mancini's. They can help you out with that. Now, on JK, let's face it, man, this thing was botched from the beginning.
Yeah.
They came off, they had 3 lottery picks, and they decided to draft 3 teenagers. James Wiseman, followed by Jonathan Kuminga, followed by Moses Moody. 2 of them are gone.
Yeah.
And Moody remains, and Moody is a rotation player on a good team.
Yeah.
They don't have a star out of those 3 guys. We don't know how good Kuminga will be in Atlanta, but we do know that with the Warriors, the style of play was not conducive to his development. I don't know how good he's going to be again, but the Warriors are built around one person. And it's not Kuminga. It never was going to be Kuminga. It's the guy who has won 2 MVPs, Finals MVP, 11-time All-Star. Their franchise player, Steph.
Yeah,
so,
that guy, yes.
Yeah, and so the Warriors, rather than understand that, okay, let's continue to build around Steph, they decided to try and build something entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
And they drafted 3 guys that had no idea how to play with Steph. Not that it's easy for anybody, but it's really difficult for guys that are 18 years old coming into the NBA. I mean, Steph was accustomed to playing with guys that really understand the game. Andrew Bogut, Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, David West, Kevin Durant. These guys know how to, they're vets. They've been in the league for a while, but they also came into the league with a certain mentality and a certain basketball IQ that the other three guys simply did not have coming into the league. And so it took them 4+ years to rectify the mistake that was made in the 21 draft. And unfortunately, they could have gotten more for JK a year ago.
Yes.
Before the trade deadline.
Yes.
They could have gotten more for him. They could have gotten more for him 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so here we are now, and they get Kristaps Porzingis for JK and Buddy Hield. And I think, I'm not going to say that, it's an awful deal, because it's so conditional.
Yeah.
It's so conditional with Porzingis. I mean, the one thing we know for sure is that it's an expiring contract. And so he can go off the books in 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, one question, do you think this makes the Warriors better now? I'll ask you first.
Not really. No, it moves the needle maybe an inch. And I think that's the harsh reality of this, is that Kristaps Porzingis has played 17 games this season. The previous season, I believe he played 42. Monte, we've both written about it. And it stood out to me like crazy when you reminded me that I think the last 3 seasons he's missed 100 games. You gave me the stat that it's 33 more games than Anthony Davis has missed, and it's some tough luck. Someone who dealt with a health issue like POTS. It was a big question mark about kind of what's going on, and that's really hard to deal with, obviously, for anybody, and especially a 7'2" athlete that's already maybe not conditioned or meant to move the way that he can at his size and everything. So the theoretical of Kristaps Porzingis is great. It's somebody that they've eyed for a long time. Someone who's 30 years old, 7'2", can shoot the three, can protect the rim, all of that. But who knows if you're going to get him for 1 game, for 2 games, for half a season, for more than just this season. So it's a $30+ million expiring contract. They own his bird rights. You can possibly in the off season, if he shows that he's healthy and he's has value to you, maybe you re-sign him to a much smaller deal than he's getting paid this season. Maybe it opens up the avenue to re-sign somebody like DeAnthony Melton a lot easier. But at the end of the day, Monty, what I wrote about last night is kind of what you talked about at the beginning of this. And to me, it all goes back to how the 2022 championship was looked at and how Steph Curry was looked at that time. That was the surprise championship, the extra championship, the cherry on top championship. And I understand why it was. Yeah, they beat the heavily favored Boston Celtics in 6 games. To me, that should have been the crowning achievement of Steph Curry right there. You can chisel him right into NBA's Mount Rushmore then and there. He had won before Kevin Durant, with Kevin Durant, after Kevin Durant. And then they win the championship in 2022, but the eyes, the focus of the front office is already turning to a 21-year-old James Wiseman, a 19-year-old Jonathan Kuminga. Moses Moody had just turned 20 years old. Jordan Poole was turning 23, I believe, 3 days later. And what did you get from those players? James Wiseman turned into bringing back an injured Gary Payton II. Jonathan Kuminga turned into bringing in an injured Kristaps Porzingis. You got a couple second-round picks in there. Moses Moody is a nice, fine role player who's averaged 7.7 points per game in his 5-year career and is averaging a career-high 11.2 this season. Jordan Poole, 1 year later, after that championship, gets flipped with a package that includes Ryan Rollins, who's now a breakout player. I understand the Warriors couldn't, know at the point at that time that Ryan Rollins was going to be what he is now. So I don't fault them for that. But you get 1 season of a 38-year-old Chris Paul and really do nothing with that contract too. There's just been a lot of misalignment and mismanagement of young assets. And that's what's really stood out to me. An example that I put in my story is the player that was picked, 1 pick before Jonathan Kuminga in the 2021 NBA draft. in the front office for that team. That's Josh Giddey at number 6 overall, who was with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who proved to be a starting point guard in the NBA. He had solid numbers, no doubt about it. But Sam Presti in the Oklahoma City Thunder recognized that this isn't the player that's going to complement our superstar, the best right here, and he doesn't fit the win now mode that we all of a sudden are in. And you go out and you get somebody like an Alex Caruso, a player that the Warriors could have got with Jonathan Kuminga. And that's where I go back to the young mismanagement of young assets. They did not strike when the kettle's hot. And that's the problem now, Monty, is that we're now in year 5, and this is the return that we're talking about. That just can't happen.
It's hard to believe that ego didn't get in the way of this, because it's hard for a team to have 3 lottery picks and then 5 years later say, this is all we got. Mm-hmm. It's hard to do that because they know how hard it is for a quality team to come across lottery picks. And so you don't want to be the person who looks in the mirror and said, yeah, we just blew 2 out of 3 lottery picks. We don't have a star at all, and we don't have 2 of them on our team at all. And so, that I think they had too high an opinion of Kuminga before. And that's why they wouldn't trade him. They thought he was going to be, he's going to be. I mean, keep in mind, man, they thought so much of Kuminga and Moody in that draft that they remade their development staff.
Oh, yeah, completely.
They brought in Jamamala Layla, who had done a great job in Toronto. They pulled him out of Toronto and had him for 2 years, specifically because they knew how good he was developing young players. And he was there for 2 years, and Jonathan got a little better. Moses got a little better. But they never developed into players that you see in the league now that come into the league sometimes at 18, 19, and 20 and make an impact. And people say, well, the Warriors were fighting for championships. No, they were fighting for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. We're fighting for the playoffs. The 22 championship was a surprise, like you said. Yeah. So nobody looked at the beginning of the season and said, oh, Warriors, it's a Warriors again. They're still, here they go. They're going to do it again. No, nobody has said that about the Warriors in years. Yeah. It's been years since somebody said the Warriors are the team to beat. And so they have spent the last, I'm going to say, this is the 3rd straight year the Warriors and Steph are looking at themselves and going, man, can we get out of the play-in tournament? And I'm going to say, well, they didn't do it 2 years ago. They didn't do it last year. And I don't see them doing it this year. They're looking at the play-in tournament again this year. Now, I am going to push back a little bit on what you said about the Porzingis deal. I think it could possibly move the needle. And I say that because, again, it's conditional to me. If he can play, Warriors will have 30 games remaining beginning with the Laker game. Yeah. If he can play 25 of those games, which again, I know it's a long shot, I think. But if he can, I think I give this deal a B grade. Okay. If he plays in fewer than that, then there's probably going to be a C grade. If he plays in 4 or 5, and it's a deep grade. And if he plays not at all, it's an F. Okay. Yeah. So because I think he does give them the idea of him playing with Draymond. I think he would be Draymond's best partner in terms of rim protection and paint protection since Bogut. Yeah. And that goes back, 8 years. So almost 9 years now, because when Bogut came back in 19, he was just a guy on the end of the bench, an emergency guy, Right. But Bogut, when he was 30, 31, 32, was a beast. And so if you can put Draymond and KP out there, you have a pretty good defense, pretty good paint defense for a team that routinely gets blown by at the perimeter. Yes. So I recognize the Warriors. I compliment the Warriors for recognizing the fact that, hey, our guards really aren't keeping penetration away from the rim. What can we do? And if Porzingis can play, if KP, I'm just calling him KP now. If he can play, that addresses that need. That gives him some help there. And Draymond can be a little bit more of a freelancer. which is when he's at his best. So we'll see if that works out. And if it does, then I'm going to give the trade a B if it works out, because he can give them that rim protection that Bogut gave them. He can give them the spacing even. I'm going to say,
yeah,
he can shoot the three. He's so much of a threat as a three-point shooter that he can almost give them Klay Thompson type spacing. Wherever he goes on the perimeter, people are going to look for him. And the other thing he can do, I think at least, is he can kind of fulfill some of that rebounding void that left with Kevon Looney. Mm-hmm. And so the Warriors this year, when Looney was with the Warriors, they were consistently among the top 8 in rebounding. And this year they've been like this and like this. And then, in the past couple of weeks, they've been near the bottom 10, even the bottom 10. So they have a rebounding issue. When they played the Sixers 2 nights ago?
The Sixers had 25 offensive rebounds. 25.
I think the Warriors had like 32 rebounds total.
Yes. And they took 2 free throws. 2.
Yeah. So I mean, KP gives them those 3 things. So yeah, but he is so, there's the caveat that comes with him is gigantic.
Yeah, he's so health dependent, of course.
Yeah, it is.
He's so health dependent.
That's the key. I mean, if it works for them, I mean, good grief, Rick Celebrini will have to do a miracle.
Guy.
I mean, I think this is his biggest challenge since Otto Porter Jr.'s feet 4 years ago. Yeah, they were able to manage Otto well enough to get a good season out of him, and he played another year and retired. Yeah. We haven't seen Otto in the game because he couldn't hold up. His body wouldn't let him. His ankles and feet just weren't going to cooperate. So I look at that and I think that this could possibly work. So now I want to ask you this, though.
Okay.
When you look at Buddy Hield, what he had to offer, because he could also space the floor.
Yeah.
And so, KP can space the floor at least as well as Buddy did. Klay Thompson might be a little much, but certainly Buddy Hield. In what ways do you think they will miss Buddy?
I think really, like I mentioned, more than anything else, is his personality. Unfortunately, Buddy's production, his role really dropped this year. He's always going to have Game 7 in the first round against the Rockets last year. The fans will always remember that. And he had flashes. He was the full Buddy Hield experience last year. Like, it was up, it was down, it was up, it was down, then it was up in Game 7. And this year, I really thought, like, coming into the year, I think he's going to have a good season, a full year of Jimmy Butler. There's going to be so many open shots for him. And then the shot just left him. We've never seen that from Buddy Hield, really, Monty. I mean, he finished before he left, about 34% from 3-point range. And Buddy Hield gave you everything he had as far as effort. Like, he tried defensively. He tried as far as running the floor, trying to be help with the rebounds. But when the 3-point shot's not falling for Buddy Hield, his value is just really, really diminished. So I honestly think at this point, what they're going to miss most is his personality, his presence, and the occasional game where he can get hot as well too.
Yeah, and Buddy's shot has reemerged lately.
Yeah,
it's been much better lately, but it coincides with the Warriors losing 5 or 7 games. The Warriors lost 5 of their last 7, and Buddy's shooting above 40% from 3 over that stretch. So I don't know. I think I understood why they got Buddy. Klay had just left.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
They needed someone who could space the floor, shoot the 3. Why not get his Bahamian brother? So I look at Trayce a little differently. Yeah, losing him for a draft pick. I don't know. I think Trayce was one of those guys that there were certain nights when he gave you what you needed.
Yeah.
And there were other nights when he wasn't as much of a factor as you thought he could be.
Yeah.
And that's why he was in and out of the rotation. Steve Kerr would constantly talk about Trayce's need to really, basically, what I heard Steve was saying was play harder.
Yeah, be aggressive. Just
play harder.
Assert yourself.
Yeah.
Assert yourself.
Yeah, because we already have Quentin Post out there who doesn't assert himself very much in the paint.
No.
So they needed somebody to do that. And Trayce, he's undersized for a center. He's maybe, I'm not sure, I don't think he's quite 6'9" even.
Yeah, he's
But
listed at 6'9", but he's
yeah,
6'7", 6'8", maybe 6'9" kind of thing.
yeah. And so but for a second round draft pick, I thought he's still a success story
Oh
because
yeah,
he's
yeah.
in the NBA and he can have an NBA career for many years to come.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike some of the guys that the Warriors have drafted that are just looking for a place to play somewhere, whether it's in the United States or somewhere in Latvia. You
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
So, but I think on the whole, this trade deadline, the missing out on Giannis was
Well, we
always,
haven't even said his name yet.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what we're getting to now. Giannis is one of those guys who, if you're the Bucks, you don't trade him unless you get something you can rebuild around.
Yeah.
And they're looking at Oklahoma City and what they did a few years ago and getting a bushel of draft picks and a future MVP and a dude named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, yeah.
And so if you're the Bucks, you're like, well, where would OKC be with all those draft picks and no Shai? Who'd be their leader? We don't know.
Yeah.
And so you look at the Warriors and what the Warriors were offering. They were not offering a Shai. They had no Shai to offer.
And that's the problem. Yep. Is that you need to be able to acquire good players to get a great player and things like that, right? So I think that's what this trade deadline became more than anything else for the Warriors was maybe some relief as far as not having to deal with the talking points of Jonathan Kuminga anymore. But at the end of the day, it was a tease. It was we're in on the Giannis sweepstakes, and look, they've been on the Giannis sweepstakes in the past. Just a year ago, they thought that they had a reunion with Kevin Durant. They went out and got Jimmy Butler, so it's not like they've just been sitting back. I understand that it all goes back to the mismanagement and misalignment of young assets, and when it comes to Giannis. And kind of this tease, this years long pursuit of Giannis, I go into it at this point, at this year, where Steph Curry is going to be 38 in a month, and you got to know your Giannis answer early in this trade deadline. You know, I know that he kind of popped up at maybe a little bit late after the Jimmy Butler injury, and yeah, you got to be in if you're the Warriors for Giannis. And I understand that sometimes with a superstar like Giannis, that you got to allow yourself to go as long as you can in the deadline. But there has to be a plan B, C, D, E, because in the offseason now, Monty, trying to go for the Giannis sweepstakes becomes even harder. Teams like Miami, New York, LA can all give better packages than they could now. It's going to be a bigger market for Giannis. Giannis is going to have more leverage since he'll be essentially on an expiring deal as well. So he can choose his next destination even easier. So I look at some of the other moves that were made around the league. I look at somebody like a Jaron Jackson Jr., someone that I think would be a great fit for this Warriors team, someone who's young, who can stretch the floor, who gives you that size. Wound up being 3 first-round picks were in that deal. I think the Warriors could have matched that or used first-round picks and players for somebody like a Jaron Jackson Jr. or other players as well too. I just think that the tease and the reach of Giannis that's been going on for so long has kind of hamstrung them for deals like a Jaron Jackson too.
Yeah. From what I understand, they had interest in Jaron. Which they should have. But of course, when Giannis comes available, you know, he's that that guy, that pie in the sky. You know, mm-hmm. He's that guy that you look at and go, man, oh, there's our holy grail, you know. and so they put all their eggs in the basket for Giannis, all the ones they had. And you look at what they could offer, and they could only their best part of their offer was draft picks.
Yep.
There was no player that Milwaukee said, we got to have this guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Steph was the one guy that was untouchable, and you take him off the table, and teams look at the Warriors and go, well, who else do I want?
Yeah.
Who else do I need? And that says something about the roster construction, because that's why they weren't able to get a deal done for Giannis mostly. I get it. The Bucks didn't have to do it. They were under no pressure to do it. They could wait until summer, which they did and should, because then they will have, rather than 3 or 4 or 5 teams coming after them, you know, they might have 10.
Yeah.
You know, So they're doing what the Mavericks did not do with Luka. Once the Mavericks decided they were going to trade Luka, they just said, okay, well, who we got to take? We like Anthony Davis. He'll improve our defense. They made the deal. Other teams are like, what?
Give us a chance.
Yeah. So that's the Bucks did the right thing by them and by Giannis.
Yeah.
And we still don't know how certain he was about coming to the Warriors.
Yeah, very true.
We don't know. We know that he had some interest in the Knicks before. Mm-hmm. We know that. But beyond that, we don't know if Giannis said, look, send me to Golden State. I want to play with Steph. That doesn't mean that the Bucks have to.
Yeah.
But if you're the Warriors and you hear that, then that means you got to find a way to make it happen if any way possible. And unfortunately for them, though, their roster was beyond Steph was not strong enough.
No.
The Draymond JK package with all those draft picks, not enough.
No,
not enough. Even though they could reroute Draymond to someplace else, and they probably would have in that situation.
Yeah.
But you look at what they have right now, and they're in eighth. Boys are in eighth place in the West. And yeah, I see this as another play-in tournament team that may or may not get to the playoffs. With Steph on your roster, 3 straight years of play-in tournament basketball just seems beneath him.
It is.
It's what they've done is what they've built around him, and what they haven't done to rectify their draft sins of the past. And so I think they had too high. They still have, I think, too high of an opinion on BP, on Porzingis. Last summer, they thought he was really valuable.
Mm-hmm.
I say last summer of 24.
Yeah.
And after his first year. And I just don't, Brandon is another. The Warriors are a team of role players besides
solid role player, Monty, 100%.
Yeah.
Moses Moody, Brandon Porzingis, solid role player. And I think maybe BP gets a little too much hate from maybe from the fan base. He's dug his own hole at times with some of the things that he said. We have to acknowledge that. We have to recognize that, of course, too. But I also think, because of what James Wiseman and Jonathan Kuminga turned into, on top of some things that Brandon Porzingis has said, and Joe Lacob going out at Summer League and being like, this is a future all-star, and all this, and hyping up Brandon Porzingis, and then him showing that he could be a solid role player, that gets the fan base more incensed of why isn't he the star then? He was the number 19 overall pick. That could be a solid role player. But when your number 2 pick and your number 7 pick brings back what they brought back and didn't give you what they did in their time here, that's just going to bring way more pitchforks at a number 9, at a number 7, number 19 pick for a player like a Brandon Porzingis too.
Yeah. I just think when you look at what they've done, it's unfortunate for Steph, and Steph is so loyal I think he's loyal to a fault.
Yeah. Yes.
And he could have pressed this team in ways that he did not. At least publicly, because he could. Yeah. I still remember. I can still visualize LeBron in the locker room telling reporters that we need to get some effing playmakers.
Yeah. Has Steph ever done something close to that? No.
Yeah. No. And so he's in the loop. There's been times when he liked what he heard, and there's been times when he didn't like what he heard. Mm-hmm. But when you look at where the Warriors are now, where they've been for 3 solid years and 4 of the last 5, it's like, they're either in the play-in tournament or the one year they finished 6th. They were just out of the play-in tournament, and it just seems like, man, Steph deserves better than that. And
he does.
Can't go back and redo it because it's too late now. I think the Giannis thing was an attempt to try and reverse what they had done, undo what they had done.
Right.
And if they pulled it off, I would have said they just undid what they did with those draft picks.
For sure.
They got a guy now who is a dude, somebody to build around for years, not just to play with now, but also build around for 3 or 4 or 5 years to come, and will be here when Steph is out. So when you look at the rest of the conference now, you see the Warriors getting out of the play-in tournament?
That's the hard thing.
The top 6, I should say.
No, I just don't. I don't. I mean, look, Monty, Steph Curry's out tonight. He's dealing with runner's knee. That's what they're calling it. But that's like the common term. I'm not going to get into the medical term of it all. But he's about to be 38 years old. He's dealing with a runner's knee. You're bringing in a Kristaps Porzingis who you hope can stay healthy. We know that what Draymond Green's body has been through as well too. And I think about the teams that they're in the mix with as far as the playoffs and the play-in. And they're going to go against a Suns team tonight that doesn't have Devin Booker, doesn't have Jalen Green. And I think the Warriors are going to have a really, really, really tough time with that without Steph. How are they going to beat that team? Who is the guy that you can go to without Steph now? It's really unfortunate about Jimmy Butler's injury, because I felt like Jimmy Butler was playing at such a great elite complementary level next to Steph Curry. I truly felt like this team, when they had won 12 out of their last 16 games before the Jimmy Butler injury, from Jimmy's acquisition to his injury, 5th best record in the regular season in the NBA, 4th most regular season wins. They felt like they were a move away. I thought at this deadline, with a healthy Jimmy Butler, that they were a move away from really being able to contend and compete in the playoffs. That's out the window now. And that's where I go to, what is the focus? What's the goal of the rest of the season going to be? The last place that you want to be is average. You either want to have a chance and be one of the final 8, final 4 teams, or you kind of got to turn the page towards June and not the finals. I'm talking about the draft. And if you're a team like the Warriors and you have Steph Curry, you're not going to tank. They've won too many games to really do that, even though it's a really good draft class. So I just don't know what the actual viewing goal is going to be for the rest of the season. It's going to be to appreciate every game that you get to watch with Steph Curry. It's going to be to see what you actually have in Kristaps Porzingis and how healthy he can be. And like we talked about, how he can trade the grade depending on how many games he can play. And maybe you see what he can be for you in the future or not. And then to me, it's a lot about Brandon Podziemski too, because he's someone who's rookie contract extension eligible. What is that rookie contract extension going to be this summer? Are they going to be in the same situation they were with Jonathan Kuminga, where they didn't come to an extension and then you have to go through restricted free agency with him? All of that. So, Monty, that's my main question as we get close to wrapping this up, is just what is the goal of the rest of the season? Like, what should be the viewing goal for the fan base, and what should the Warriors' goal be as a franchise?
I have an answer, but first I got to go back to something Draymond said the other night about how he was not losing sleep over the possibility of being traded.
Yeah.
He's still on the roster. Well, what kind of bed is he sleeping on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if it's a Mancini's bed that he just got today, he has a 365 night comfort guarantee. He can try the mattress for a full year, as could you. If it's not the right fit, they'll make it right. Free next day delivery, free old mattress removal, buy today, sleep better tomorrow with no extra cost. Best price guarantee. If you find a better deal than Mancini's offers you, they will come back and beat it. Now, if you look at where the Warriors are now, I will say this about them. If Steph can manage his knee and squeeze out another 20 or so games, if Porzingis can squeeze out 20, 25 games, the one thing I believe about this team is that they will be more watchable.
Okay.
More watchable.
And that's what they need. They need that badly.
Because they were unwatchable Tuesday night against the Sixers.
Yes.
They were like, it was like, what? No, it was an eyesore roster. And so it won't be much different against the Suns. We'll see what it looks like against the Lakers and beyond. But so much now with Jimmy going down, it's like you knew at that point the season was the season was hanging from the edge of a cliff.
Yes. Yes.
and that any hopes of making a long postseason run were pretty much done unless they made a major move at the deadline. And I wouldn't say this is a major acquisition. I'd say it's a good acquisition, potentially. So that's where we are now. And as we end this Dubs Talk conversation, we've got 31 games to go, beginning with Phoenix, 30 after with the Lakers, and we'll see what they can do. Getting into the high 40s is going to be really difficult for this team.
Yeah,
and that's why
it's going to be really hard.
They're in 8th place. They've been in 8th place since November. And I think getting to 7th or 6th, which would put them out of the play-in tournament, is going to be really hard. Not impossible, but almost. So
yeah, it's going to be really hard. I think the final thing that I have as far as Jimmy Butler goes, just to give the fans a little bit of news that we learned today too, is that his torn ACL surgery is going to be February 9th in LA. As a reminder, DeAnthony Melton made his return this season of the Warriors exactly 1 year to the date of his ACL surgery. So 1 year to the date for Jimmy Butler would be February 9th of next year. So we're not going to see Jimmy Butler until at least early to mid-February, most likely next season. He'll be 37 years old. As far as the rest of this season, I'm just going to give a reminder to appreciate every single game that you get to watch of Steph Curry. And I am intrigued to see what they can do with Kristaps Porzingis, because the theoretical, the hypothetical, really since Kristaps Porzingis has even been drafted, we remember him being a unicorn for the New York Knicks. There's always been a hypothetical. There's always been a theoretical. Now we see what that possibly can be in a Warriors jersey, Monty.
He's Dalton Johnson. I'm Monte Poole. This has been Dubs Talk. We'll see you guys later. And don't forget, looking for a bed, you know where to go. Mancini Sleep World.